I refused to change my wedding date for my sister's vacation and my family abandoned me. Now they're shocked I skipped her wedding too.
Final part.
But Ava had a final petty move. She posted an Instagram update, just as I expected. The caption was all about being grateful for the real family who showed up and how she was cutting out toxic people from her life. The irony was lost on no one. She had cut me off for simply setting boundaries, but now she was pretending to be the picture of grace. Then, of course, my dad came through with a private confession. He admitted that Ava and Mom had taken things too far, but he still refused to take a public stand. He said he regretted how things turned out, but was too afraid to speak up. His cowardice was infuriating. He had been silent throughout the entire thing, and now he was acting like he was caught in the middle. At this point, I was done. Emma and I weren't going to waste another second on this circus. We didn't need the drama in our lives. Instead, we booked ourselves a fancy dinner to celebrate the freedom we had found. Eva's wedding was over, and we were the ones who had come out on top. We didn't care about the chaos. We didn't care about the passive-aggressive posts. What mattered was that we were happy, and nothing they did could take that away. We toasted to our peace, to a life without the toxicity, to cutting off people who only brought drama and manipulation into our lives, and most importantly, to the future we were building without the weight of their negativity dragging us down. The family had lost its hold on us. It's been just over a year since Ava's wedding, and I've barely heard from my family in that time. I'm not surprised. The dust has settled, and while I've moved on, the ripples from the chaos are still being felt. Ava's marriage, for one, is falling apart faster than I ever imagined. Less than a year after the wedding, a cousin reached out to let me know that Ava and her new husband were fighting constantly. Apparently, it was over finances and conflicting life priorities, classic issues that come up when people are rushing into things. Ava was always about appearances, and I guess that perfect fairy tale wedding wasn't enough to hold everything together. I heard that Ava was devastated, but I didn't feel an ounce of sympathy. She'd spent months making it seem like I was the villain in her story, but now, the narrative was shifting. Her marriage wasn't perfect, and no amount of social media filters could change that. Mom, as expected, was still pretending everything was fine, even if it wasn't. She never acknowledged my wedding, not even once, not in private, not in public, not even a half-hearted comment on Facebook. She kept the silent treatment going strong, never posting any pictures or even mentioning it. She refused to recognize that the real reason I stepped away was because she and Ava chose to make it impossible for me to stay. I noticed something interesting though. My dad had started liking some of the photos I posted of Emma and me, pictures of us traveling, going to events, just living our lives. At first, I thought maybe it was a fluke, but no, he was liking almost every picture, even commenting "good to see you happy." Yet he never said anything publicly. He never once acknowledged our wedding. It was as if he was trying to show support without actually standing by me in any meaningful way. Mark, who had stayed mostly neutral through everything, was starting to show signs of exhaustion. He'd reached out a few times, casually texting about random things, old family memories or mutual acquaintances. Then, one day, he just came out with it. He admitted that the family's dysfunction had gotten to him. He told me that he couldn't keep up with the drama between Ava, Mom, and Dad anymore. He said it felt like he was always stuck in the middle, trying to play peacemaker while everyone else was making things worse. But Ava's behavior wasn't getting any better. It was like she couldn't handle being the one left out of everything. I saw a series of vague posts on her social media about outgrowing toxic people and realizing who never really cared. It wasn't subtle, and it didn't take a genius to figure out she was talking about me. But at this point, I wasn't even engaging with her nonsense anymore. Then, the real twist came. Emma and I found out we were expecting. It was a huge moment for us, one we'd been hoping for and working towards. We kept it to ourselves at first, only sharing the news with a few supportive family members who had been there for us through the storm. But as much as we wanted to enjoy the moment, I should have known how my mom would react. She found out from a relative, not from me. And when she did, it triggered a meltdown. The first thing she did was text me, saying "I hope you don't punish your child the way you punished your family." She had the nerve to guilt trip me for not telling her first, as though she was entitled to that information. Emma had absolutely had enough at that point. She blocked my mom and Ava from every platform we had, refusing to entertain any further drama. I didn't blame her. I had been done with them for a long time, but Emma had been trying to play nice for the sake of keeping the peace. That ship had sailed. Not long after, my dad sent me a message. He said he was worried about the family falling apart and asked if we could fix things before the baby arrived. It was the same old routine. He wanted me to just forgive and forget, to let it all go for the sake of family. But I wasn't falling for it anymore. I told him flat out, only positive, supportive people will be part of our child's life. No exceptions. I wasn't going to let Ava or Mom drag us down anymore. This was a new chapter for Emma and me, and I wasn't going to let them ruin it the way they ruined everything else. As for Mark, he was finally seeing the light. He started distancing himself more and more from Ava and Mom. He admitted that he could see how toxic the whole situation had become and that he just didn't have the energy to keep up with the drama. I could tell he was torn, but he knew deep down that siding with Mom and Ava was only keeping the dysfunction alive. And then came the ultimate power move. Emma and I decided to throw a huge baby shower without inviting my immediate family. It wasn't petty or vengeful. It was just a simple, honest reflection of how we felt. We didn't need them to celebrate this milestone. We had friends, extended family, and a solid support system that actually cared. The shower was everything we wanted it to be, joyful, full of love, and stress-free. The people who mattered were there, and that's all that mattered. We didn't need Ava's approval or Mom's fake sympathy. The best part, they had no idea. They weren't even on the guest list, and that felt like the biggest win of all. We had moved on, and we were going to keep moving forward together without the baggage. It's been over 2 years since Ava's wedding, and if there was ever any doubt about the choice I made to cut ties with my family, it's long gone. Ava's divorce was finalized last week, and the way it played out was almost poetic. Less than 2 years after the wedding she'd made such a spectacle of, Ava's marriage completely collapsed. I don't know all the details, but I've heard enough through the grapevine to know it was just a matter of time. She rushed into that marriage, just like she rushed into everything else, and the cracks started showing almost immediately. But here's the kicker. My mom, true to form, tried to spin the whole thing. Instead of letting Ava own the failure, she took to Facebook to make it all about how Ava had been misled by a terrible husband who took advantage of her good heart. She posted a whole message about how devastated she was for Ava, how unfair it all was, and how this was a lesson in trusting people. Of course, not a word about how Ava's actions contributed to the mess. My mom couldn't even bring herself to acknowledge her part in all of this. Then came Mark. He sent me a message late one night that was simple, but powerful. It was the kind of message I'd been waiting for but didn't expect. It read, "You were right. Mom and Ava are toxic." That was it. No fluff. No excuses. Just the blunt truth. I wasn't even angry. Mark had spent years walking the line between us and them, trying to keep the peace. But now he'd seen it too. And I could tell that he was finally fed up with all of it. I didn't reply right away. I knew Mark needed time to process, just like I did. A few days later, my mom hit me with her apology. She sent me a long-winded email, claiming she was sorry for how things had turned out and how hard this whole situation had been for her. But as usual, it wasn't really an apology. It was more about how she was struggling with the fallout, how hard it was to lose her son, and how much she wished we could all just get along. She made sure to mention how much pain she'd been in over the entire situation, which, no surprise, didn't include acknowledging how much she contributed to the mess. Then the real kicker came. A cousin who I still had some semblance of a relationship with, reached out and warned me about a family reunion my mom was planning. Apparently, Mom was trying to set up a surprise gathering to force me into making amends. She'd told everyone else that she was hoping for a miracle and that maybe, just maybe, this would bring the family back together. It was clear that she was hoping to put me on the spot and force me into being the bigger person. Emma had no patience for this, and I didn't blame her. She put her foot down hard and said, "Our child doesn't need to be around that negativity." No way. I agreed with her completely. We had come so far in building a peaceful life, and I wasn't going to let my mom or Ava drag us back into their toxic drama. There was no way in hell I was walking into some reunion designed to make me the villain. So I did what I had to do. I officially blocked my mom, Ava, and anyone else in the family who still chose to take their side. It wasn't just on social media. I blocked them from everything. Texts, emails, everything. I wasn't going to play their games anymore. Then my dad sent me a final text. It was a lot like his other messages, full of regret, but still not willing to stand by me publicly. He said, "I wish things had turned out differently, but I understand why you're done." That was it. A simple, "I get it," but it felt more like a cop-out. He didn't apologize for the way he let my mom and Ava treat me, and he never took a public stand. He still wanted the peace, but at this point, I couldn't settle for that. Ava, of course, wasn't done. She sent me a direct message on Instagram asking if we could talk. She told me that she was ready to move on and wanted to find a way for us to be family again. But by this point I was so over it. I didn't even open the message. I didn't need another round of the same old manipulation. She'd burned her bridges. The smear campaign started soon after. I started hearing from friends that Ava was telling people I had cut off the family for no reason. It wasn't even surprising at this point. She'd been painting me as the villain for so long that I wasn't shocked to hear she was still doing it behind my back. But I didn't care. I knew the truth, and anyone who was worth having in my life knew it too. Eventually, Mom and Ava stopped trying to reach out. It wasn't because they'd had some grand epiphany or were suddenly filled with regret. It was because they realized I wasn't going to cave. I wasn't going to let them pull me back into their world of manipulation and guilt. They stopped sending messages, stopped pretending to care, and honestly that was the moment I truly felt free. As for Emma and me, we were doing better than ever. Our baby arrived and it was everything we'd hoped for. We were surrounded by friends who truly cared about us, people who respected our boundaries and supported us without question. Our little one was surrounded by love, and I couldn't have asked for anything more. Mark, too, started drifting further away from Ava and Mom. Over time, he came to realize what I had known all along. The only way forward was without them. I'm not sure if he'll ever publicly stand up to them, but I know he sees what I've seen. Looking back, cutting them off was the best decision I ever made. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary. I've built a new life, a better life, and I couldn't be more thankful for the people who have supported me along the way. As for the rest of the family, they can keep doing what they're doing. But as far as I'm concerned, I've won. I chose peace. I chose Emma, and I chose my child. And that's the best victory I could have asked for.